All right. Welcome to another episode of the My Latin Life podcast, your trusted guide to living in Latin America since 2014. I'm honored to have a guest on this episode, which is Mr. dannybooboo, aka Daniel Rusteen. Danny, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. I'm here out in Medellin nowadays.
That's awesome, bro. And thank you for joining on with us. So you're in Medellin, I'm in Playa del Carmen. How are you kicking off the year? What's January 2022 look like for you?
January 2022, it looks like I'll schedule my first vacation. Well, my life is kind of a vacation, as you know, but I just bought a house in Medellin in August, and in the beginning part of 2021, I was looking for a house. And then when I bought a house, I was renovating it a little bit, and then I hired an employee, training them to manage it while I'm not here. And so today I just checked in my first long-term booking, 37 days. And so with that, I think I'm going to go explore a little bit of Colombia. That's how my New Year is going to kick off.
That's dope. I actually think I saw a story you posted a couple weeks back where you're like first, 37-day booking. So I think I remember that a couple weeks ago.
Actually, yeah. Well, let me tell you that story because that's kind of a freaky story. So,
Sure.
one of my like crazy, I got something in my eye, obviously. One of my crazy theories or beliefs is that I'm one of the people that think we live in a simulation. If we don't live in a simulation, I definitely believe in the power of energy and just changing your future based on energy, and everything that you perceive starts in your head. That's true. Everyone knows that. But like you can take that a step further. And I have some examples of my own life of how that's happened in a big way. It was November maybe. And I had been, part of my strategy buying this house was none of my competition. It's a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom penthouse in Poblado, which is the touristy area of Medellin. And my competition didn't really offer big long-term discounts. So I thought I would offer, part of my strategy, my ROI strategy was to offer a bigger discount for a weekend, a month-long stay. My month-long stay, I was offering a 65% discount. And so actually at the time it was 50%. Yeah, theory being that I would avoid partiers. I would still get a nice nightly rate, but I would avoid partiers and the check-ins and coordination and all that. So I'm about a month and a half through my reservations, and for some reason, this one night I'm staying in Medellin, nearby the house, and I wake up. I wake up in the middle of the night with the sensation that I got a long-term booking. Like, it was the weirdest thing. I had been thinking about it a lot. I had been thinking about it. So I check my phone. And it's on airplane mode. So I turn it off airplane mode. I check it. Nothing. Okay, fine. I'm like, that's strange. But by the way, I never want to check my phone at night, because the last time I did this, I was staying in my house, in my apartment, which I call the Belmonte penthouse. I'm trying to brand it that. Yep. And I had it for a month. And as you know what I do all things Airbnb. And so I was getting itchy, and I listed a room. The plan was to list the whole apartment, but I listed a room in September. And I remember it was a Thursday. It was a Thursday night going into a Friday. And I woke up again for some reason at 2 p.m. I usually sleep like a baby. I never wake up. I woke up at 2 p.m. This was sometime in September. And I turn on my phone, and number one, I had a last minute reservation, instant book for check-in that day. And I was like, oh, fuck. Now I have to like get up tomorrow and clean the place and live with some random person for a weekend just for 2 nights. And I was like, God, I don't want to do that. And then I checked my WhatsApp, and it was like this WhatsApp random number was like, hey, Danny, are you there? I need to talk to you. It's urgent. Like, call me back, with like 10 missed calls. And I was like, who the fuck could that be? Like, who is calling me? Like, is it something serious? Is someone like got a bounty on my head or something? It was the weirdest thing. And then, so I should have learned my lesson. But anyways, I woke up this day, fasting forward to December. I woke up a second time and I turned on my phone. I was like, because I had a dream that I got a long-term reservation. So I had this dream, I got a long-term reservation. I check on my phone, nothing. All right, that's the second time I woke up. Go back to bed. Another hour goes by and I wake up again with the same dream. And I go back to my phone, I click it off airplane mode. I'm just waiting. I don't get notifications on my phone except for a few things. So I'm waiting for the Airbnb notification to come down. Obviously understanding that this is crazy, because my place, by the way, for a month is $10,000 a month. So it's like, why
US.
would any, US, I've stayed numerous months here, and I pay the most I paid was $2,500, and that was a nice brand new building. So I'm like, who would pay? No one's gonna. It doesn't make any sense. So the third time I'm there, I'm waiting,
and that's
nothing
the discounted rate. That's the 60.
That's the discounted rate. Yeah. So you can see how unbelievable.
So then that's a pretty high nightly rate. Yeah.
Yeah, the nightly rate is 500 to 1,000. I got 1,000 on New Year's. Usually it's around 500. It's 600 or 700 a little bit as well. Yeah. So I'm about to turn my phone off. I woke up for the third time, turned my phone on, nothing. I'm about to go to bed. I don't see that notification come down. I'm about to click airplane mode, and the Airbnb logo pops down, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I click it and it says you have a reservation request, and I click it, and sure enough, it's a 37-day reservation for $10,000. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I just had a dream about getting a long-term reservation, and I got a long-term reservation, the first long-term reservation I've ever gotten at $10,000. It's just one person as well. I just checked him in, and he seems like an angel, like he's not trying to have parties or anything. So it kind of freaked me out. I was like, that's fucking really strange. But anyways, I checked him in today, and he seems great. And that's how I'm kicking off the 2020-22. If that's what the tangent went off of. Just one guy.
Yeah, I guess just one guy. 10K Poblado. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy's balling, clearly.
I like it. So why don't we actually rewind a bit, or just allow you to introduce yourself, your expertise in Airbnb, your background, where you're kind of based at now, and what you've been doing the past couple of years.
Yeah, man. My background is, I guess my life as I know it now starts in 2012. So let's rewind the clock back a decade. December 2012. I was at this point in my life, I'm a CPA. And I'm doing that. And I quit my job. I quit my job without another job to get. And so I'm not stressed out because I've always been a saver. I had some money, but I'm looking for a job for sure. And my roommate, I lived in San Francisco, 4-bedroom home, shithole, but cheap rent, 3 other roommates. And one guy, keep in mind, 2012, people were still pronouncing Airbnb like AIRBNB. It wasn't a word yet.
Right. For sure.
And so he explains to me, he's like, you heard of this Airbnb company? I'm like, no. He's like, well, they do. He explained it to me, and immediately I was like, oh, that's cool. That's like kind of how I like to travel. That's cool. So I looked into it, and I applied to there. I got an interview, and they said, thank you for coming, but no thanks. We don't want to hire you. That was the first time. But then I stayed in touch, because as soon as I went there, I was like, this is my company. Like, accounting sucks, but like, this company's cool. The accounting team is cool. So I stayed in touch with my recruiter. And a few months later, maybe 4 or 5 months later, another role opened up within accounting. I interviewed for it again. I interviewed like 20 times. And they hired me. And I worked there for 3 years until they fired me.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was 3 years. And then that. But 3 years is pretty significant. Like, that's more than enough time to, you must have seen a lot of growth, and then had a pretty in-depth knowledge of the company at that point.
Yeah, I was the 700th. My class, I was within the 700th employee hired there. When I left, there must have been like double that at least. And but it was still small enough of a company where you saw everyone, and I interviewed with one of the founders. They would
Mhm.
introduce the employees every Friday. There'd be a big meeting. They'd introduce the employees, and so Brian Chesky, which is the head of the company,
Yep.
we would say hi to each other in the hallway. I played basketball with Joe Gebbia. Yeah, and then Nate Blacharsek, which is the techie CEO, he would ride his bike, so I'd see him often in the garage because I rode my
Uh-huh.
bike as well. Yeah.
Where did you guys play basketball?
It was a league I believe it may have been for like startups, because I remember we played things like Uber. We played the Uber team. It was in San
No
Francisco.
way.
It was like a pickup startup basketball league. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Damn, that's some good networking.
Yeah, I didn't use it as that actually, but I should have. That's a good hindsight.
And so fast forward, you've become basically a world traveler, making money online, primarily helping people with Airbnb and online bookings and managing real estate, right? And using that online income to, among other things, feed a life of constant travel, and as well as some investing in real estate in Latin America, right?
Yep. Nowadays, I live in everything Airbnb. I live as a guest in Airbnb. I coach Airbnb hosts. I wrote an Airbnb book. I'm about to create an Airbnb course. I have an Airbnb property management company. And then I just became Airbnb property owner with this first investment under my own name in August, which is at this point 5 months ago.
That's crazy, man. And congrats on purchasing the property. And I guess a bit of an aside, but also super interesting. So, with this was your first property that you purchased outright, like with the main idea being an Airbnb, right? Was this your first property purchase in general?
Yes. Yes. I tried in 2012 actually to purchase one in Las Vegas. This was before I knew Airbnb, and I failed. I couldn't
Hmm.
do it, even with my attorney brother co-signing. I tried twice last year as well to buy two different houses here in Colombia, and the first time the owner disappeared, and the second time the folks kind of freaked out on me during the negotiations. It was the weirdest thing, and so I backed out of that deal.
True. And actually, you're reminding me now that we did talk about this. I remember you talked about the back out deal because we went to a cafe in Sabaneta and met up kind of for lunch. So I remember
Yes, yes.
we did meet up in, like, I guess March, April 2021.
Yeah, we overlapped for, it sounds like, just a little bit, because I was in Sabaneta just before I left and actually went to where you are for a good month and a half, Playa del Carmen, which I like a lot, and I usually don't like those places because they're too touristy. But Playa del Carmen is
Hmm.
cool. Actually, I have a friend going out there, a Colombian girl, fluent English. She's going out there. She works in stem cells, and she's going out there to expand the
Hmm.
business and I think attract some gringos. So I can introduce you to if you like.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And we'll come back to Playa del Carmen and kind of destinations and travel stuff. But I just wanted to get like sort of like a firm grasp of your story and the cool stuff you're doing for the listeners. So, I guess your first endeavor was writing the Airbnb book, right? It was your third book, but the first book that kind of was in your area of expertise. I guess it was your first Airbnb book, right? And that took off, that made a bunch of money, and that allowed you to kind of be like, I can make money online. I can start traveling and, I guess, booking more Airbnbs and random locations, working online.
That's actually, let me clear that up. That's not exactly how it went. I started, the book came a 1 year after I started traveling,
Okay.
believe it or not. I started with an Airbnb property management company. 1 year after Airbnb fired me, I worked for an Airbnb property management company for 1 year until they fired me. So now we're in 2016, like June, July 2016, and I started my own Airbnb property management company. But then I pivoted to what I do now, which is online Airbnb optimizations. It's like SEO for Airbnb search. And as soon as I did that, it didn't take off, but there was a need. I remember the first promotion I ran, I got like 3 sales, $99. And I was like, oh shit, strangers are paying me online. That was like the first realization. Like, I just made $200 from some stranger who has no idea who I am.
On basically a mini consultation. It wasn't even the book yet.
No, not even the book, just a shitty website, $99 Airbnb listing optimization. Yeah, that's
optimization consultation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so those sold in August. And then I was actually looking at you want me to pull up my revenue numbers my first few months?
Yeah, sure.
Because I did a video similar to this, and I was like, I looked at them myself and I was like, wow, like, because I know I've met people during my travels. I've traveled everywhere from Kazakhstan to Morocco to, the common European destinations, and Estonia, things like that, less common European destinations.
Yeah. Brazil,
yeah, I love Brazil, man. Brazil, keep that to ourselves. That's a hidden gem. Brazil, very dangerous country. You don't want to go there.
Don't go. Too scary.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Now that I used to say that about Medellin, but now that I have a property here, I'm like, no, it's safe now. The safe, friendly people, good-looking girls.
Dude, I want to actually spend like extensive time asking you about Brazil versus Colombia versus Mexico, let's say, stuff like that. But before we do that, but in a clean way. But before we get to that, I just want to finish off on basically how to like make money online, and because it's a little bit different from everyone, and yours is a pretty unique way of going about it. I like this idea of, and the consultations, like, are you physically getting dirty on, are you logging into their account and like doing things, clicking buttons, or is it pure sort of like information based, or how would you run an optimization?
There's 3 different optimizations I do. The cheapest one is automated. They pay me, I send them a report. It's just full. It's basically a summary of my book, an updated summary. I update it every month or every quarter.
Yep.
That's called Startup, and then Startup Host. And then Advanced Host is semi-custom. And then Super Host optimization, most of the purchasers take that one. That is where I go in and I make changes to their title. I switch up their photos, add captions, apply some different strategies that I know, and then make a custom report for the host for things that I don't want to change, but telling them what they should change.
Okay.
And then Elevate Host is, and these were all kind of like developed. I started with Advanced Host, and then I realized I could do Super Host, charge a little more. And then I realized I could create something that's automated, charge less, but make a little more money. And then Elevate Host was the last thing I did, where I can charge, it's $800 now. And I connect them to messaging automation, pricing automation. I create a digital guidebook for them, and I do the listing optimization. But the thing, people who are watching this who don't know what they're doing, or maybe that are doing something but they're not making a lot of money, here's the trick. And I can't, like, if this company went bankrupt, I wouldn't tomorrow be able to come up with a new company. What I have going now is really great. I kind of fell into it. It was pretty organic. But the trick that makes it really profitable for me is that I charge like a mechanic. Someone pays me this amount, and I deliver this thing, which is good, but they don't really know what I do. They don't really know how much time I spend. Like, as if you were to go to a mechanic. Okay, this is broken. You need to do this.
Right. It's not about hours. It's about like value. It's about value.
Yeah. If people knew how much time I was spending on these things, and what my hourly rate is because of how little time I'm spending on this, I don't know if they would think, it would probably change their psychology from a buyer's journey perspective. But I have that little dark screen where they don't really know. They just see the value side. And so that's what makes it really profitable for me, is that I don't work a lot, but I make sufficient money to basically live like a retired life. I started tracking my time a couple of years ago at this point, and it works out to like 1.67 hours a day, every day is how much I work.
Unreal. That's unreal. And it sounds like you also, it took you time to sort of start charging more money. Sounds like you started with low value offers and then started getting into more high ticket offers.
The first optimization I sold, I think it was June 2016. I sold it for $5 and I spent about 45 minutes on it. So now I charge, I spend less time because I have help on some of the parts, and I
Yeah,
charge more than 100 times that amount sometimes if they get the Elevate.
definitely. I mean, yeah, it should definitely be more than $500. I mean, do you have anything that's like multiple four figures? Do you have any like 3 to 5K, 10K programs, more mentorship,
No,
things like that?
no, I am the reason what I'm working on now is a course, and that's going to change things around. My highest ticket item after the course will be $1,500.
Hmm.
But at this point, no, my biggest ticket item is $800. However, if something I did recently that I'm testing out, which I think is kind of cool, is at the end of the year, I sent out an email to my list and I said, hey, if you want to pay me now for if you know you're going to make a purchase in 2022, pay me now. I'll give you a little discount on that payment, and then you could spend
Hmm.
it next year. And so that was kind of cool because that was a little bonus money. And then that worked so well that what I did is in my store, I added ticket. If you know you're gonna spend $1,000 this year, I
Hmm.
have a bulk discount. Pay me $1,000 now, and I'll give you a coupon worth 1,150, and then it's 3,000 and 5,000, and it
Right.
gives you more discount if you pay more upfront.
Yeah, you definitely want to collect that money up front.
Yeah, but it's to demonstrate just like all of these. I have like 9 additional services that I sell. It started off with just $5 optimization report, and then all of these different things. I got a floor plan, digital guidebook, phone consultation, some social media stuff. But it kind of grew organically, all the additional services.
Dope. And the course, like, how are you going to host it? Is it Kajabi or what? What is the course going to look like?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe if you have some advice, I'm happy to take it. I know that Kajabi hosts on their own server, and I'm not sure if I want to host it on my own. I want to be the owner of the course.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure
Okay.
yet. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. And I mean, from a high level, what's important here is that Danny has found an expertise and found a way to make money online, selling his expertise and basically performing high value actions where it's not just grunt work. He's sold himself as an authority. He's automating things with virtual assistants, etc., in places where that makes sense to reduce his overall workload. And he's basically found the key to making money online. And I guess Danny's been doing it now for like 5 years, which is unreal. Longer than myself. I only really got started in 2018, which even just to be pre-COVID, making money online is kind of like being a pioneer. But in 2016, you were like definitely a pioneer.
Yeah, I felt like one too. I remember there was this one time I was in where was it at? I forget, but I was in a cafe and I was like trying to hit on these 2 girls, and they were asking me like what I do, and I was like, I'm a digital nomad, and that like turned them off so much. That word, they're like, oh, you think you're better than us, this and that. And I was like, what? Digital nomad just means what are you talking about? And so I failed with that one, but that was like what it was back then. Like digital nomad had some different kind of a
Hmm.
connotation to it where it was like a negative.
I think
But
it
hey,
took time for people to understand the term and for it to become mainstream.
yeah, which now it is. But hey, I want to comment on the virtual assistants thing that you mentioned, which I do
Hmm.
use them. I hired a local girl here, but I do use virtual assistants.
Hmm.
And just a tip that I found with my 5 years of experience is that I read 4 Hour Work Week, just like you and just like probably most people who are watching this.
Hmm.
And he promoted like hiring people from India and Philippines for like $1 an hour, $2 an hour, the cheapest you could get.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, and I was always frustrated. So I realized I don't hire those folks anymore. And I sometimes hear friends brag about like their virtual assistants for like $2 and $3 an hour. And ever since I stopped doing that and started hiring folks for $9 is like the minimum I'll do, but I'll go from like 9 to like $15 is what I've hired.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen just there's a huge intelligence differential, I'll say, that makes my life a lot easier. Even though I'm spending more money, it just the frustration has dropped like tremendously in terms of re-explaining things. I think a lot of it has to do with
For
English
sure.
fluency. A lot of
It's
things
a
lost
community.
in translation.
So where are
Yeah.
you hiring VAs from now?
I use, let me see where, oh, you know what I did the last time I did? I sent an email out to my list, to
Mm.
my email list, and I said I'm just hiring, and then I got a million replies from there. The last girl I hired was here in Colombia. I didn't poach her from my competition, but I let her know that there's a job waiting for her if she chooses to quit, and she chose
Mm-hmm.
to quit, and then I hired her. So that was kind of an organic thing. But other than
Nice.
that, I do use Upwork. That's where I've hired people a lot. And what I do is I typically hire people without reviews, and I hire individual people. I don't want to work with a company. I want to work with someone, an individual person who's working for me exclusively.
Makes sense. So have you found success with virtual assistants from Latin America? Because it's an interesting topic, because I think it should make sense, because they should be hireable for a pretty economical price, but they're in the same time zone. There's sort of cultural overlap and sort of, I think, more mutual understanding, and a mutual understanding of like what should get done. And it's hard to explain, but when you start outsourcing tasks and they're randomly done in like weird ways, and sometimes you can only like tack it up to culture or something, but I feel like when you hire from someone from the Americas, there's less room for error, I guess, or you can sort of like reduce some of the variables.
I guess I agree with that. I'm so bad at hiring and whatnot. I mean, I just make terrible decisions in general. I really shouldn't be giving advice about this, but I would. There's definitely some geographies I stay away from. I have had good success with someone here. I hired someone from Georgia, the
Hmm.
country.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. My best hire was this dude in America, USA. He was a college student. He was studying to be a doctor, and I was paying him $15 an hour. Obviously, he was very smart, and he caught on very quick with minimal explanation. He was my
Awesome.
best hire for sure. But eventually, he was like, "Wait a minute, I'm going to be making like 10 times this amount in a year. Do I really want to do this?" And he eventually went
Hmm.
away, disappeared.
So one or two more sort of real estate or Airbnb type questions before we get into more travel stuff. Um, First one. So the property you bought, my understand. So let's talk a bit about Colombian residency, because that's what we're gonna get into more on My Latin Life in general, is nomad capitalist type stuff for Latin America, second residency, second passports, taxes, things like that. So that's sort of the direction we're taking My Latin Life. And my understanding is that you can get residency in Colombia for purchasing a property around the 100 or 110,000 USD mark, right? It also kind of sounds like your property was well in excess of that, but did you use this property for the residency?
Yes, I bought this property partly because of the investor visa that I'll get, which is
Hmm.
5 years, 5-year visa. And then at that
Hmm.
5 years, I can apply for a passport.
Hmm.
However, the rules have just changed this year. And I don't know exactly how they changed, but you can no longer buy a property for how I did it and get a visa, get an
No
investor
way.
visa. They just
No
changed it.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they literally removed the option, or did they change like, does it maybe, I know there's also a way to get a 2-year visa. There's like a 1 or 2 year visa, and then there's a 5-year visa. And one of the things that was good about the investor visa was it was immediate 5-year or longer term, right?
Yeah. As far as I understood, I didn't look into it because I'm already in. But it was they basically said, okay, you can't get a visa anymore for buying property here. I guess the demand went up too much, and they're just like,
No
y'all are
way.
gonna buy property anyways, maybe. So we're gonna remove that away. Yeah, just recently this year.
Okay. And then I know like the other way is you can invest in a company and that company could actually even downstream do Airbnb or property investment, but and it's a lesser investment too. I think it's only like 30 grand US if you do like company investments for the investor visa. I'll have to look into
Hmm.
this as to what got recently taken away because I haven't heard about that. And I'm usually on the
Hmm.
pulse here.
Yeah, yeah, it just happened, and they didn't. Yeah, as far as I understand, they didn't even like give warning last year. They just like changed it like December 29th. They're like, we're gonna change this now, effective today.
Wow. So basically, yeah, definitely following a trend I'm seeing of it getting harder and harder to get these visas in countries. And so when you get the opportunity, you definitely want to pounce on it. Um, that's awesome. And so a couple things about the residency. So it's immediate. So 5 years is unreal because I guess what'll be happening then is you'll be renewing that five visa for another 5 year visa. Or when you renew it, would it be for permanent or would it have an expiration date?
Yeah, after that 5 years, I would apply to get a passport, Colombian passport.
Right. But you'll need to keep like some sort of visa active while you're uh, going through your naturalization process, which could easily take like 2 years. So I think what you'll have to do is renew the visa and then kind of parallel to that, you're also undergoing a process of naturalization.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't think it takes 2 years here. That was my understanding. Was that it was pretty quick actually. As soon as those 5 years get up, because you can start doing things in advance as well.
Uh-huh. And is there I bet it is, but I mean it's still gonna be like a full year for sure. You know what I mean? After that 5 year mark, I would
Hmm.
say. Like once you submit your documentation and stuff, I mean, I still think it's not gonna be like 2 days turnaround or two. I don't know. But
Oh, definitely not. That,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I think that's one of the cool things about Colombia is they are pretty good about the bureaucracy, sorry, is reasonably efficient. I remember seeing the YouTuber dude, I think Zach Morris got his
Hmm.
Colombian passport. I wonder how he got in because he probably didn't have cash to do like an investor visa. He must have got like some like English speaker job or something.
No, I think it was like gifted to him by the Colombian government because of the amount of notice he was putting on Colombia.
Really? You think he got a
Yeah.
special one and
I'm pretty
like
sure.
not
Yeah,
even
I'm pretty sure.
what, but
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
he was like, but what was he on tourist visas that whole time, like doing the ida y vuelta? I don't know.
That's a good point. I don't know. I don't know because he was here for a long time before
Uh-huh.
that. Before that, he got the passport. But I know people who have overstayed their visa here, and they just pay a really small amount, and then they can come back in.
Hmm.
Apparently.
Oh, really? I thought you get banned for like a year.
Okay. Well, I don't know because I've heard a few different stories. I have a friend, Sam Miller, maybe you know him. He's also got a big YouTube for Colombia. He stayed
Okay.
over 2 years, paid his fee. He asked them, "Can I come back in?" They said, "Yes, you're good. You have this now." And he kind of got back in, and they didn't let him. But I just met a guy in the house I stayed at 2 weeks ago, and he did the same thing, and they let him come back in. So I think it's like who you get that day. I don't know what the
Yeah.
official rule is.
Yeah, that's definitely a common theme when it comes to immigration and customs is depends who you get that day. But that's sick. I mean, you got your plastic, you got a cedula, right?
No, not yet, because I'm still waiting on the visa, which should be approved like this week or next week, and then with that, I'll get the cedula, and then I'll open the bank account.
Nice. And do you know if there's like residency requirements or like time on the ground requirements in Colombia? I think to maintain the visa, there's no time on the ground requirements as per what I've learned from Andrew Henderson. But if you are to go citizenship track, do you have to spend more than 6 months a year as part of like a naturalization requirement?
I'm not sure about that, but this is before I get the passport, you're saying?
Well, typically what happens is um, these countries will say in the 2 or 3 or 5 years prior to applying for naturalization, you have to have spent X amount of days in the country.
Ah, okay. I don't know, man. I should know, but I don't know.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's definitely in the weeds, but I mean, for people who are like interested in freedom and they want to keep on that passport track, but also kind of maybe do other stuff, go home, visit
Yeah.
family. It's interesting to keep track of. So let's talk about like Colombia as a base. I mean, uh, why Colombia? What do you really like about Colombia? Was it just that the program was really good and it made sense from a business Airbnb perspective due to the popularity of visiting Medellin and stuff, or was it more like this is really the country for you and you love it on like a deeper level and you love the culture?
Yeah, it was definitely a deeper level. I've spent over the past 5 or 6 years, I've spent at least a week in more than 80 cities around the world. And so I have a
Mhm.
good idea of
Oh,
where
wow.
I feel the best. And the reason why I feel the best here is actually I actually went pretty detailed into this and I created a chart because I wanted to figure out, well, why do I like it here so much? And how can I figure that out about future places that I might want to go to that I don't yet know?
Yes,
And
you have
so
some
I
great lists of not requirements, but like factors that make a great city.
exactly. Yes. And there's 19 of them. And I afford a score to each of those categories to figure out like where I might like best and not. And after the fact, I'll also do this, and it turns out that it's pretty accurate. If something gets 7.9 points, and they're weighted based on like if what I value more than other things, they're pretty
Mhm.
damn accurate about what cities I really like and what cities I don't like so much. Let me see if I can pull
So,
it up. I'll give you my top
dude,
my
pull it
top
up
couple.
because as you know, in My Latin Life, we're really famous for our city guides and having
Yeah.
guides to most cities in Latin America. And so maybe we could use some of your points here and incorporate these to make our city guides even better.
All right, so I'll give you a quick rundown of my, it's 18, let's see, it's 18 criteria and they're all weighted. I won't go through the weighting because that depends on who you are, but then that's
Uh-huh.
all measured over cost of living. So what value are you getting for the price you're paying? So for me, it's things like women. Women are a factor. Climate. How friendly are the locals? How well can I interact? Air quality, parks, walkability, cleanliness, transit, cafe. The cafe scene is important. Day trips, if there's a beach, salsa, which Asian countries wouldn't get much after Russian, but that's part of the reason why I like Latin America. Gyms, the expat community, etc. The cities, here we go. You're in number two. You're in city number two of all the cities I've been at. Playa del Carmen ranks
No way.
13.75 out of a possible 19. The only city above you is Chiang Mai at 14.5.
No way. That's your top city, Chiang Mai?
Chiang Mai is the top city. Well, that's the unweighted. Let's go to the weighted. The weighted is better. My top city for weighted and a weighted average
Weighted
is
against
out.
cost of living or
No, it's weighted against like if I value air quality more than like
okay, okay, okay.
expat
Yeah,
scene
yeah, yeah.
air. Yeah. So
Gotcha, gotcha.
Almaty is ranked number one. Almaty, Kazakhstan.
Is the Wi-Fi good? It must be.
Yeah, it was everything about that city was surprising. The clean air, the clean water, the clean streets, the fast Wi-Fi, the pretty women, the friendly locals, everything. The cheap everything. It was quite a surprise.
I believe that.
Number
Must be
two
cool in
is
the
Chiang
winter though.
Mai. Yeah,
Dude,
it's cold in the winter.
you're boosting too many non-Latin cities here. We need to boost up Latin America.
All right, we've got Playa del Carmen is number 3. Rio de Janeiro is number 4.
Hmm.
And then we got Medellin down here. We got Sao Paulo, and those are the ones that this list isn't all the ones. I just kind of was curious about a few. But in Latin America, I mean, my 3 favorite countries are going to be Mexico. I think you probably alluded to this. Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil. Those are the top 3 for sure, by far as well. Probably 5 years ago, Venezuela would have been up there, but we'll have to wait that out for now.
Sounds like you like big countries and you like big cities as well. Or do you see the value in like tier B, tier C cities, 250,000 inhabitant type cities, or are you more of like a big city type guy? There's exceptions like Playa, but Playa is decently big. I mean, yeah. What's your thoughts on like tier A, B, C?
I personally do like big cities. However, I get a tremendous amount of value going to smaller cities, tier B, C, and D cities with less expats. I just typically, the first time I go to a city, I'm going to the biggest city. The second time I go, I'm going to something slightly smaller, slightly smaller. So here in Colombia, I've been to the most recent trip I did in November was I went to
Bogota.
Necoclí, and no, I went to like some like really small non-touristy beach towns
Oh, cool.
because I'm at that point now. I've been to 13 cities, so I know all the cities. So I want to explore smaller and smaller. There's a yeah, you got the gringo factor when you go to these other cities. It's like probably what it is. It's like you're kind of a little bit famous. People just have more interest in you. It's easier to make friends and conversations. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And so why would you choose Colombia to base more full time than say Mexico or Brazil?
I choose Colombia more so because here you get that the value differential is highest in terms of what I pay and what I get. It's the highest. Mexico is actually, the value is not as high as here. And I'm talking about Airbnb, quality of Airbnbs, quality of food, quality of women, you could even say. It's a little closer. Brazil is better, but Colombia here, and specifically Medellin, it's just like you're paying pennies for filet mignon. You're paying $30 a night, $40 a night for an Airbnb in a brand new building with a balcony and a pool in the most desirable area. That's the biggest thing. The other thing is there's a really high quality expat scene here, like dudes who are really creating high level companies. There's a crypto scene here. If you want to get into that scene, that's easy here. There's a pickup basketball league here that's pretty competitive. And I like to play basketball. And so that's hard to find in Latin America, but here it's very active. You guys got it in Playa del Carmen too.
We do, yeah. I have my brothers here in Playa with me, and we head over to the court a couple times a week, all out. Good weather, it's awesome. So you think Colombia is the best sort of like value equation? I mean, do you think so I would say that the Mexico value equation has been like getting a bit shorter actually, because there's so much demand that like prices of Airbnb and everything have gone up dramatically. It's gotten more expensive, Mexico.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like kind of cool. It's kind of better. Like there's a lot more expats and stuff now. But I mean, Mexico, let's just say in the past 5 years, Mexico's gotten quite a bit more expensive. It's still cheap, but more expensive. Colombia, I'd be curious what you think. It's probably gotten more expensive in the past 5 years. Brazil's gotten cheaper. Brazil's gotten significantly cheaper, whereas Rio used to be prohibitively expensive. And now what you're saying, you can get, $30 Airbnbs on the beach in Rio. And like $1 acais on, and you can swipe a credit card. So that's been pretty cool about Brazil. How have things changed in Colombia in the past 5 years, value wise?
This place has been on an upward trend for the past 5 years. About 5 years ago is when I first came, and not when I first came, but when I came to here to stay longer term and learn Spanish and all that stuff. I came in 2013 the first time and kind of noticed something was different here.
Mm-hmm.
But over the past 5 years, what has happened is it's basically the same as 5 years ago, except there's more of it. There's more nice buildings coming up. There's more variety of restaurants. It is getting a little bit more pricier, but it's still pretty cheap. The
Mm-hmm.
quality, the English, like Mexico is like a shithole, and I say that in the lovingest and the best term, in the best way possible. That's just what it is. But it's like the land of the free. It's like, you know, anything goes there. You don't need to know Spanish really to be in Mexico. Everyone learns English, especially in places like Playa del Carmen. Here in Colombia, in Medellin, the Spanish level is low, and it's always been low. That's something that hasn't changed much. You'll go in parquejeras, and the waiters won't speak any English. But it's been slowly getting nicer and nicer. The other thing is there's a problem with prostitution here, or, you know, it depends how you look at it, whether or not it's a problem. But there's been a lot of Venezuelans coming here as well. And so the city is, I think, trying to clean this up. They're putting in parquejeras, which is where you'll find prostitution is legal here as well, by the way. So the girls are just standing in the street. They've been trying, yeah, totally legal. Yeah, that's why there's hundreds of girls in parquejeras just
legal.
Yeah, legal. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to change the subject, but I did not know that. Okay, question for you then, and I wouldn't ask someone this, but I just know you're gonna have the most hilarious response, which is like an enormous issue in Medellin and in Colombia in general is getting scoped. And every time you go on like a Medellin expat forum, people are just getting scoped every day, getting drugged and then like getting robbed and stuff. Are you not like afraid of that? Like, obviously you keep your wits about you, but if you're just there like 365 days a year, like with enough, I don't know, maybe I'm blowing out of proportion, but
I've heard these stories as well. And let me tell you one of these stories that like is strange. Here's how the story goes. And I saw this story in a WhatsApp group that I'm on, and I saw this story and I was like, is this real? And if it's not, what would be the motivation of someone telling this like fanciful lie? So the story is they're in Poblado, the richest neighborhood in Medellin, and this dude is walking by one of the fanciest hotels, and this guy comes up to him in a suit, shows him a gun, and says, "Why don't you cross the street with me?" He crosses the street, and there's another guy standing there, and they basically rob this guy, and they get him to give him his like crypto password to get his crypto.
Damn.
And I'm like, that's hard. I don't want to call it a lie, but that's hard to believe that like people just happen to know that this guy has it's sophisticated, but it's also like, how would they even know that guy has crypto? And why would there's just so many red flags about that whole story, like where it was done. You know, if you know the neighborhood, you're like, where it was done and how it was done. I was like, this is, but at the same time, I never been robbed or anything in any of the countries I've been at. And I assumed it was because I'm not the target market. If someone was going to rob me, maybe they wouldn't go after me. Though. Well, I'm talking about like, I guess like my build and like, I have a beard, so maybe I'm a little bit more scary looking. I don't know. I was thinking of it in terms of that, and I'm a little bit taller than them. So would they go for me or would they go for somebody?
I think I've seen you like you've written about this in the past as well.
Yeah.
How you're like getting jacked is like a way to like defer robbery.
Yeah. It is though.
But anyway, finish the story. Finish the story.
So I was at brunch with a new group, an expat group that I was invited to, and we're at brunch, and this big tall guy comes and sits down, and he tells us a story about how he was robbed just like 2 weeks ago, and he's like 6'4", and he says he was with a black guy who was also large, and he was with a white guy who was an ex-military guy in the U.S., also large guy. And I was like, that kind of blew my mind because like, oh, well, this guy's bigger than me and those guys sound like they're bigger than me. So maybe it's not that, maybe it's not that I'm not their target market. So then what I think it is I don't go out much at night. I think that's what it is. And by not going out much at night, I think I avoid 99% of potential problems. These guys were out at night. all of these
Agreed.
stories that you hear,
Agreed.
they're always
Agreed. But
out
you're
at
gonna
night.
eventually go to some birthday parties and whatever. You're gonna be out a bit.
I do go out a bit. I'm just saying I don't go out as much as other people. And I think if you don't go out at night, that like eliminates 99% of potential risk you might have. That's just my point. I don't know. It doesn't seem scary to me. I've been in places that seem a little bit sketchy. Morocco was one. India was another, where I felt out of place and I felt people's eyes were on me, and I felt like if I walked down the wrong street, something might happen. I don't feel that
Mm-hmm.
way here at all.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I spent like a month in Medellin in 2021. I like it. Got to see a bit more of Colombia. What are some of your, let's just call them like lesser known places or undiscovered places off the beaten trail recommendations for cool towns in Colombia?
In Colombia, okay. I like Pereira. Pereira is like
Yeah.
Medellin's little sister. It's like small Medellin. That town is cool. And what comes along with that is it's a lot cheaper, and you get that like
Mm,
there's like barely any gringos there. It's just maybe a 3 hour drive from Medellin as well.
yep.
Another city to check out. Let's see. You know what? Bogota is underrated. I think Bogota is underrated because it's in a unique position where everyone in the country hates Bogota, so no one goes there. And when they go there, they want to leave there as soon as possible. And Cartagena is the most tourist. The most tourist arrivals go to Cartagena.
Yep. Yep.
Medellin is probably next, and then maybe Bogota. So like it's kind of a unique situation when you have a capital city that
That's like
doesn't
number
get
4.
much tourism. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point. Is Pereira, I guess, your favorite place in the Coffee Triangle? How would you stack up Manizales, Ibagué, Pereira, and I know there's a fourth, Armenia.
Armenia. Yeah.
Yeah. How what's
I
the
haven't
vibe
been
of
there.
each of them?
I haven't been to either of those three, just Pereira and Salento, which is like
Yep.
kind of a day trip thing with these tall ass palm trees. Manizales
Right.
is on my list, and Bucaramanga is on my list. I might go there next week.
Mhm.
So TBD for the edition 2 of this.
Awesome. Have you made it down to the south to like Pasto and that like crazy church on that bridge?
No, I haven't been down there yet. Choco over in that region on the Pacific coast. I want to go down to Leticia, which is the furthest south city. It's in the Amazon, but
On
in
the
Colombia.
Pacific?
No, 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 down
No?
south. It's
Okay. Okay.
Leticia is all the way down south. It's bordering Brazil.
Nice. Full Amazon. That would be a vibe.
Yeah, yeah,
You know who's in Colombia right now is James Tusk. I don't know if you guys have ever communicated. I think you probably know who he is, right? He
yeah.
might
Actually,
be
we
good.
communicate. We communicate a decent amount. I actually met one of his coaches,
Okay. Which one?
Clint.
Clint?
Yeah.
Okay. I've a few of his coaches and friends have been in Playa, um, coming and going, but I don't know if I know Clint. I think Mr. Tusk might be one of the next guests on the pod. He actually reached out to me, so
Oh,
I'm gonna
nice.
have him on as well. And so he's in Cali right now.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
I'm sure he's working on his salsa.
Salsa capital of the world, man. Difficult.
All right, so you got the base set up in Colombia. It sounds like things are chugging along. I mean, I did you have to get an Airbnb license, by the way, like with the government?
Yeah, yeah.
And
New this year, you have to get an Airbnb license.
was that hard to get or
Very easy to get after you have a ID.
okay? So you didn't even need the cedula. You just needed like a permanent resident ID. You had your place, and then you were able to basically just register the address.
Yeah, exactly.
That's dope. That's actually dope. So that's fully chugging along now. You're getting guests, you're getting bookings. You could spend time there. You could conceivably basically rent it out year round. Um, my understanding, Danny, is that Colombia is like your first international base, other than the United States, like in terms of like residency and stuff like that. Are you looking at expanding to another base as well?
Colombia, Brazil, Russia, Vietnam.
Okay, so you want that to be your bases?
These are my four favorite countries in the world, and I see myself spending more time there. Colombia and Brazil are probably the top two. Brazil's probably number one. I actually prefer Brazil over Colombia.
And I've been looking into the Brazil residency program. You can kind of do the same thing as Colombia, like buy a piece of real estate for right around 100K, 120K, and then that will give you residency. It's a bit more complicated. I think you have to wrap it in a Brazilian company and kind of requires a lot of lawyers. Excuse me. But so it sounds like more bureaucratic, but also possible. Is that something that you've looked into?
No, not yet. This was kind of a headache, searching and buying a house and working with the government here and all that. So I haven't been looking into that. I could see myself doing that in Brazil, but I need to look more into it. It sounds like I got to talk with you about that, but no, I haven't.
For sure. And I guess an aside, have you looked at Paraguay?
No, I haven't even been there. Why do you bring up Paraguay?
Well, it's easy for residency, and I mean, it's getting really, really popular, and it's right on the border of Brazil.
How easy is it?
The easiest.
Now that gives me some interest.
Yeah, basically you just put 5,000 in a bank account and then apply, and then it's ready. Yeah.
You're kidding me.
And Paraguay is it's a territorial tax country, unlike Colombia, so it's more set up for digital nomads and online people.
I think you'll be seeing me in Paraguay quite soon, if that's all that it takes.
Because you know what's funny is Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia are kind of like the big three in Latin America. They're kind of like the best lifestyle countries, and they're big, and you can switch cities and stuff. But none of those three are territorial tax countries. So they're not, in some ways, they're not the best for digital nomads looking to live somewhere year round, meaning more than 6 months of the year. They're great for people that want to do the PT, perpetual traveler lifestyle, and do the 3 months and things like that, hop on tourist visas. But when you want to actually spend more than 6 months a year in places, it kind of does incur tax consequences. And in Latin America, you can maybe ignore them, like a lot of people do in Mexico. But I don't know, long term, I just think it's not smart. And I think it's good to set up bases where you can live year round without incurring crazy tax consequences and stuff. And so that's why when I think of real long-term bases, I'm also looking at Panama, Paraguay, anywhere with a territorial tax system. Some of the Central American countries work in this regard as well.
Panama has such potential, that city. I hope they turn that city around. They have such potential. They could make that a worldwide destination, but it's such a shithole.
Dude, I like Panama. Sorry, I was just coughing, but I mean, I like Panama a lot. I think you know Jake Nomada. He's in Panama right now. I'm going to try to get him on the show as well, so shouting him out.
I just read his I follow him on Twitter, and I just read his Twitter. He bought a what is it, Vertimax, when he was 15, he said, saved up all his money, and he was dunking as a 5'11". I'm also 5'11", a white guy. He's got an interesting Twitter. Shout out to his Twitter. He's got some interesting posts going on there on the daily.
He's an athlete. He's an athlete for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who would win in an arm wrestle between you guys.
Well, I'm all natural. I'll just say that.
Oh, throwing shade. No, I'm fucking around. All right, moving right along. So in terms of the bases, Vietnam and Russia, also places you can't really get permanent residency and stuff though, but you like it as sort of like a perpetual traveler, tourist visa type vibe, right?
Yeah, for me, it's about diversifying my money. I'm less worried about getting a residency in every country I go to. I want a second residency for sure, where I can go somewhere else and have a second passport. A third one, anything else besides that is a bonus. But also, I look at bank accounts. I have opened a couple of bank accounts around the world, so that's important to me. and generally just less than 6 months or even 3 months. As you know, I travel typically by the month, and that's what I would like to continue doing. So that's less of a consideration for me if I can set up shop there for the long term.
Dude, I think Russia would be sick. Do you think you'd be able to open a bank account in Russia, get some Russian rubles going?
I don't have one, but I think you could. Yes, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could find a way relatively easily. Maybe not for $50, but if you have a sum of money, yeah, probably you could make that happen. The tricky thing is how accessible is that? Do you have to go to the country to access your money? That's more of the tricky thing. Do you have to have a Russian phone number to access online account, stuff like that?
Would you be willing to share some of the places you've set up bank accounts? If not, it's fine.
I'll share one. It's in Tibilisi, Georgia. I went to Tibilisi, Georgia, the country.
Yeah, I've heard that's good. Were you inspired by Andrew Henderson to look into Georgia?
No, I learned that. I didn't know about him when I opened it. I learned it. I'm a part of something called the DC, the Dynamite Circle.
Yep.
Or Tropical Dino, something like that.
Dynamite Circle.
And I
MBA.
went Tropical MBA. Yeah, that's the podcast, I think. And I learned about it from a conference I went to them. And they basically said, like, look, this is a really solid country. It's under the radar. They're giving interest of like 13%. And that was kind of enough that I needed. I looked into it and I decided to go there. I went there for 2 weeks just to kind of check it out. And I decided, sure enough, there's a little conflict on the border with Russia. But sure enough, I liked the city and I thought it had a good future. So I opened a bank account there. And you can open a bank account in euros as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been on my list as well. I haven't made it there. It actually follows the strategy I just mentioned before, where maybe the elephant in the room is Russia, but then you could set up in Georgia, where it's a territorial tax system. It's easy to open bank accounts, get residency, etc. Speaks Russian, and so you're sort of getting access to that Russian-speaking world and that sort of sphere of activity within a sort of like a jurisdiction that's a little bit more like business friendly and stable in some regards. So that would be one to look into. Let me ask you about language learning, because I know you're a language learning enthusiast. I've personally seen you speak Portuguese on the streets of Sao Paulo. I've seen you speak Spanish in Medellin. I guess you work on Russian as well. You must really enjoy language learning, and that must be a big part of why you travel, right?
Yeah, I do really like learning languages, and I typically learn them wherever I'm at. Like when I was in the Philippines, I learned some from Tagalog. And I just typically, I start with memorizing. I just memorize a bunch of words that, left, right, colors, chicken, things like that to get me around the basics.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, unfortunately, I'm kind of dumb, so it takes me hella long to learn languages. But I keep at it. And I'm the most fluent in Spanish. I'm pretty fluent in Spanish. Portuguese, you saw me. I'm pretty good in that. And Russian is difficult. I just memorized probably 500 words and phrases, and that was pretty good.
Yeah, just pожалуйста. I think Russian's a sick one to learn. I like these languages that cover. I don't see from a language learning perspective. I'm just not interested in the Philippines or Vietnam or Georgia, where the language doesn't open too many doors. I like these sort of international languages like Russian, Portuguese, Spanish, where they're sort of spoken in dozens of countries, and you get to sort of maximize your value per language.
Yeah, definitely. You have to. Yeah, for me, unless I really fell in love with a country like Georgia, where they have some weird, fucked up language, and the writing is
yeah, the
super
writing
strange.
System, yeah, it's insane.
I'd really have to love the country and want to spend a lot of time there to learn a language, because it's basically just useless except in that tiny little country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I mean, I continue, even though I haven't been in a Portuguese speaking country in 6 months, I keep listening to podcasts almost every day in Portuguese and keeping that up, and then the Spanish as well. Okay, let me ask you a bit about Playa del Carmen. We'll basically kind of start wrapping up. Want to be respectful of your time, but we promised to talk about Playa a bit. You came in like July or something, right? And I just remember your stories where you're just like sweating buckets, like from the humidity. So I'm glad that you came away with a good impression of Playa, despite coming in, with kind of the bad weather season.
I think I was getting kind of pissed off at that weather. Now that you remind me, I'm not usually I'm fine with humidity and hotness usually, because I'm not wearing a suit and I'm kind of just doing my own thing anyway. So it doesn't really matter if I'm getting a little sweaty. But yes, in Playa del Carmen, it was so hot and so humid. You might not even you shouldn't even take a shower, because I took a shower and I would go out and immediately I would just be like, I'd be wearing shorts, mind you, a tank top and sandals. You'd go out and you'd just be
immediately
sweating, just drenched. I literally, I would have like more sweat than in the gym. I'd have sweat on my eyebrows going into my eyes. It was just, it got to be just fucking annoying at some point. Yeah, now that you remind me of that. But I did really enjoy Playa del Carmen, super walkable, and I went, as you mentioned, in the months that were, I guess, the most humid and the hottest. But it's a super walkable city. It's a relaxed lifestyle. They got a beach. They have a huge expat scene. It is expensive. The value, like I said, the value is on par with what you're getting. You're even paying a little bit more. Like I was paying for the Airbnb I had, and I just came from Colombia. I was paying more for an Airbnb, and the quality was lower. The food and everything. It's quite expensive. I think I was paying $10 for a beard trim there, and here I pay $3. So it's quite more expensive.
Mm-hmm. What did you like about Playa? I like the walkability, the expat scene. Is it somewhere you're gonna come? Are you gonna come back to Playa at some point?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely coming back to Playa. The biggest things I liked was the things that I just mentioned. But the walkability really, I love an efficient day. I can go to the gym and go to the grocery store, go to the beach.
Yeah.
All in the same day. Go to the
yes,
barber.
I found that challenging in Medellin, to be honest. Everything was like an Uber away.
Yeah, there's a few neighborhoods that you can live in for sure, but in general, there's just a few. It's a big city, few neighborhoods. In general, yeah, you're spot on. And they hate parks here. They hate parks, and the one downside, man, Playa del Carmen could also be a world-renowned city if all of those streets looked like whatever that street is, with all the trees, those big trees. They have lights coming up. It's like 34, maybe 36. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, this is Estudiantes, which is like one of the main streets. It has some trees.
No, it's one of the ones I wrote up. Did you see my guide?
Oh yeah. That it's like kind of on a hill and goes down to the beach.
Goes down to the beach, exactly.
Yeah, it's like full tree cover. Yeah. That's 34, 38.
Yeah. But they cut down all the trees. There's no trees in that city, and it's so hot. Trees would be so essential. Imagine if that place was covered in trees, like Medellin here, like Poblado. Yeah, I think it would be super cool.
Agreed. So you mentioned the expat community, and this is definitely like kind of the last major thing I really wanted to touch upon with you, is that you, Danny, are actually really good at joining, finding, and participating in communities. So you're in a lot of different communities online, and I don't know, you're a pretty good networker, both I guess online and in person. How do you like find new communities? Do you get a lot of value? What's like your strategy? Talk to me a bit about that.
So I wrote a book on this. That's probably where my skills come from. But before the book, I did take interest in how can I, because I'm in a country for a month, typically before the pandemic. I'm in a country for a month. I have to meet people before I get there and get a kind of relationship going. So I remember this one was called, oh damn, if I'm forgetting the name of it. Oh damn, forgetting the name of it. It was basically an app, and I would put in my dates of when I would go there, and I would say I'm single and I'm looking for a single guide or something like that. And it was free, and it was really cool because it wasn't a dating app. I would have a lot of locals reach out to me through that app, and they would say, hey, I'll take you out for a day, and they'd take me out. And I could become their friend. I know I'd buy a lunch or something, but there was no money. They were doing it because they were
language exchange or something.
Language exchange, yeah. They just wanted to meet an American or whatever. that was one of the ways. Another way I joined Internations, which is it's kind of an older group. It's like, 30 and 40, 50, 60-year olds. There's another group called what's it called? The famous one for like younger nomads. It's
Nomad List.
Nomad List. Yeah, Nomad List has the Slack and everything, and they don't have events, but they have the Slack and they have people in the city. So I would reach out to some of those folks. Dynamite Circle was another one. Nowadays, though,
how long have you been a part of Dynamite Circle, by the way?
Maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 3 years. But nowadays I'm good at, and I enjoy networking and meeting people in real life. And I'll do that quite consistently. I don't think you were here. Well, I do Sunday night dinner parties, or typically I just throw little parties for people at my house or my Airbnb. I didn't do it when you were here because they were doing like lockdowns, weekend lockdowns and whatnot. So you never got to experience one of these, but maybe one day soon when you come back. And it's from the people that I meet throughout the city in cafes or just on the street, friends of friends at gyms, and I invite them over. And it's a cool way to connect with people that you otherwise might not connect with because they're, they don't want to, they're a little bit sketched out going by themselves. They usually bring a friend. So I get to meet a bonus person at these informal dinner party type events.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. The Sunday dinner party things, get people together, potluck style. Everyone brings something. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing nowadays. Check out my Instagram account, Sunday Dinner Party.
There you go. So we'll kind of start to get going here. A couple last thoughts about Latin America, because you always have great theories and stuff. What do you think is special about Latin America compared to other regions of the world?
Latin America compared to other regions of the world. I think it might be because of the reputation that it has here. People think it's quite dangerous here. And so because of that, maybe the people here are for example, when I went to Russia, actually, I was kind of surprised. Sorry to bring it back to Russia, but I'll bring it back to the Russia example is for Latin America. I was surprised when I went to Russia. They have a reputation of being cold. And I went there and I was like, wait, you guys are kind of friendly. And so it kind of blew my mind. Here in Latin America, the reputation is that they're friendly, when you get here, but they have a dangerous reputation as a country. So when people get here, I think the Latins want to show people that it's not dangerous anymore. Speaking for Colombia, we're not a cocaine capital anymore. And so they go out of their way to be friendly. And in general, they're growing up very social and very open in a way that Americans aren't. Even the family bond is different. They'll show everything with their parents. They'll go out at night with their parents and party with them. And it's just very different.
I agree. I think that's one of the main topics when you get a couple expat bros together for dinner in Medellin or whatever in Latin America. It's just kind of sort of laughing at the differences compared to North America, compared to Latin America in terms of dancing and partying and sense of responsibility, and it's kind of an endless topic with endless nuance, and it's hilarious. But ultimately, do you find that you feel more comfortable in the Latin culture than back in your California American culture?
Yeah, I do feel more comfortable in my current lifestyle. In where I'm from, it was hard to make new friends because of cliques, and I also think because people were they were more career focused, so it was their idea to work 80 hours a week for 10 or 20 years. Whereas here, money is less important, much less important. They don't really care about money. It's life and family first, and then job second, and that has its pluses and minuses. But in terms of pluses, it makes them more relaxed society, much more relaxed.
Yeah, I have a big respect for like the family bonds and the emphasis on relationships in Colombia in particular and in Latin America.
Yeah, my buddy just told me he had a date today, and she brought her mom on a first date.
I thought you were gonna say flowers or chocolates or like, but they're good about that too, right? Like you'll meet up with someone and they'll bring you like a little candy or they'll bring you food to cook for you or just really sort of like caring and I don't know, just like a different level of like warmth and it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it's you have to your listeners will have to come and experience it for themselves. Medellin, anywhere in Colombia, but Medellin is where I'm at, and that's a good starting spot for sure. Poblado
Yeah,
Medellin.
yeah, I think Medellin is definitely a good potential first location for people looking to start setting foot in Latin America. We have city guides on that. By the way, how long have you known about My Latin Life? Were you a reader back in the day?
It was definitely one of the blogs that I paid attention to back in the day. I remember, and I even recently, the most recent time I looked at it was when I went to Monterrey, Mexico. I looked at
Mm,
your guys guide, and the best thing about your guide was it would tell me where to stay, which is so crucial to your experience in the city, where you stay. And they've been very useful. But I met Vance back in Mexico City, I think, back in like 2018. And I had been
that
paying
sounds
attention to
right.
his blog before that, much before that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you've been a long time reader. We're constantly evolving the city guides and making them better. And I think, dude, I'm really happy you mentioned that because you're going to see a huge increased emphasis on that where to stay piece because I think that's a huge value add, and we've had a lot of people mention that. Um, but yeah, man, let's wrap this up. Danny, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Definitely appreciate your time. I mean, like I said, I think you're like the perfect podcast guest for My Latin Life. You've done it. You know, you've built a business online. You've moved to Latin America. You've got residency, bought property, but you're kind of keeping your sense of adventure as well, and you're down to keep visiting new places. And I mean, you're at 1,600 plus nights on Airbnb now, right?
Yeah, definitely more. Yeah.
Insane, man. I could ask a million questions. We'll have to do a part two at some point down the line. But dude, thanks again for coming on. Do you want to shout out the books or any of your projects?
I'll shout out my personal side. There's the business side. It's Optimize My Airbnb, and if you're an Airbnb host, that's best in class information. But my personal side is dannybooboo. That's you got the YouTube there and my blog. And
Yep.
I don't do the city guides, but I have just like the city notes, kind of just my observations and things about a city. Sometimes I'll call out like my favorite cafe or something like that, but it's quite informal. I also have prices on there, like prices of common things, like how much the Airbnb costs, how much does a haircut cost, laundry, things like that.
Hmm.
So yes, reach out to me there. Make a comment, send me a message. And if you're in Medellin or in Latin America, I plan to be here, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia for the time being.
Awesome, man. Dude, maybe you should like put together like a referral code for me for the Optimize My Airbnb stuff. And we can blast that out.
Hmm. Yeah, we can do that. I have an affiliate program.
Sick. Yeah, make me an affiliate. Yeah, I'll link all the personal stuff as well as the Optimize My Airbnb stuff. And personally, I've read quite a few articles on your website, as well as the YouTube videos. So shout out to you for both maintaining like a professional YouTube and like a personal YouTube where you're just sort of personally helpful and giving guides to Medellin and things like that, which I thought was awesome. I've read a lot of the articles about top cities and things like that. And excuse me. Yeah, thanks again, Danny. Thanks for coming on, man. It was a fun one.
All right. Until next time. Ciao.